I'm sure this is going to surprise all of you, but I am child free. It wasn't always the plan to never have children. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like there was like always this idea in my life that I was just never going to have a child. When I was, 15, 16, I'd say even all the way up to about 18 or 19 years old, I always had wanted a son, just to kind of continue the naming conventions of my family. Of course, I was fed the all-important gotta protect the bloodline speech growing up. If you don't have kids, then who's gonna carry on your blood? Who's gonna carry on the great family traditions? And look, I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like my family isn't full of heavy hitters, right? Okay, my great-grandfather was an engineer in World War II. He built planes to help fight Hitler. My grandfather was a brilliant mathematician who was a top-notch professor at LSU for most of his life. Both of my uncles are also engineers. One is a mechanics engineer or something like that. He basically helps build like trains and automobiles and things like that. And my other uncle is a biometrics engineer, which is some very complicated shit I wouldn't even get into. My mom is a tax professional and an accountant and probably one of the best in her fields. And I tell dick jokes on the internet. But I also have a tested IQ of over 180, which is hilarious because I've managed to burn myself on the stove at least once a year over the course of my life. I should no longer have a thumb. And also I tend to accidentally draw on myself constantly. Yeah, I don't know where the IQ comes from. You can prove it on paper, but goddamn am I a fucking idiot. But there was always this idea that I could carry on the legacy, right? I could have I come from a family of very intelligent people. I could have kids that were very intelligent and they would probably go off to, I don't know, cure cancer or something. But at a certain point in my early 20s, I just stopped wanting to have kids. I realized a lot of things about myself. I realized that I get overwhelmed very easily. I have extreme sensory issues. I cannot stand high-pitch repetitive noises. I cannot stand when we have dogs in the house, and one of the dogs really likes to dig into the bottom of her cage, which she can't dig. It's solid hardwood floors out there, but I can hear it, and it gets annoying. It gets annoying really fucking fast. I also have like sensory issues with being touched. I can't wear anything too tight around my neck or I freak out. I have autism, if you can't tell. I have autism, so I have very bad sensory issues. I'm also incredibly frugal with my money. Whenever I have low-paying jobs, I'm able to survive off of them just due to a long life of growing up in a family with no money. And whenever I have low-paying or I have well-paying jobs, I end up stockpiling and hoarding a bunch of my money because I don't spend it on fucking anything. I don't go overblown. I don't waste my money on a bunch of frivolous shit. So I really would have a hard time justifying buying a child the things that they want. And I always said that if I ever became a parent, if I had the money to give that child whatever they wanted, I would get that child whatever they wanted, because I never want a child to have to go through what I went through growing up, which was having Christmas in April because we had to wait for tax returns, always being behind on trends, never knowing what the newest TV shows were or what the newest video games were like, because we just couldn't afford it. So I always said too that I wouldn't have a child unless I absolutely could afford to raise that child. And with the way that the economy's been going for the past 15 fucking years, I don't really know if that's a viable thing to go with. On top of that, in order to have a child, I would have to have a partner. And again, I'm pretty selfish. I want to spend all my time with that partner. Like, I'm not saying that I have to like constrict and be in my partner's life 24/7, but when I want personal time with my partner, I don't want to have to worry about, oh my God, the kid's crying. Looks like we got to stop having our sexy time. Or, man, I'd really love for us to just go out on a dinner and a movie, but we got to find a babysitter, or maybe we got to take the kid with us or something like that. And that's frustrating for me. So at the end of the day, I don't want children, and I don't want children to the extent where I won't date single mothers. I do not want to date single mothers. I made a TikTok about that, basically stating that I kind of feel bad saying I don't want to date single mothers because single mothers get a bad rap. They get a bad rap, right? A bunch of misogynistic incel losers will constantly refer to single mothers as if they are damaged goods, or if they're not worth it. One of the commenters in the comments of that TikTok actually brought up a pretty good point, where they said that they hate guys who are like, oh, I don't want to raise another man's child, because you're basically removing the mother from the equation, right? You're only attaching that child to the father while pretending like the mother doesn't exist, which is incredibly misogynistic. And unfortunately, I get lumped in with those assholes because I just don't want children. I don't want to date single mothers because I don't want children, because of all the reasons I just listed for being child-free. I don't want them. And I would never be so much of a dickhead that if I dated a mom, if I dated a woman who had a small child, I would not ignore that child just because I don't want children. I could never do that to a kid. I would love and care for that kid as if they were my own, and as much as I would be allowed to, because I'd also respect the boundaries of the mother, and if the father is in the kid's life, respect the boundaries of the father. But I could never make a child feel like they're unloved by the adults in their lives, right? Regardless of the age of that child, I could never do that. So I'm so child free that I go so far as to not date single mothers because I simply do not want children. I don't want to raise them. I don't want to deal with them. I think kids could be funny. I think they can be neat, right? I have met some 7-8-year-olds that were fucking hilarious. But the best thing about meeting other people's kids is when the kids start being annoying, I get to shove them off to their parents. Like, ha ha ha, your little guy's really funny. He's crying and I smell shit in his pants. Here you go, Dad. You can take care of that, right? So it's just one of those things where I don't really want kids. I don't really like kids. What very much confuses me is how utterly ready so much of society is to demonize people who want to be child-free. That is one of the most bizarre things that I think I've seen over the course of my life. I used to follow this creator named Ray William Johnson. Now, Ray William Johnson's had his fair share of controversies over the years. I don't think he's ever done anything, as far as I know, right? I could be completely wrong, but I don't think he's ever done anything that's like truly egregious. I think he's just been a bit of an egotistical asshole. I used to enjoy Equals3 back in the day. I found him again on TikTok. He was doing like true crime storytelling videos. I quit watching him when he started using AI, generative AI, to tell those videos, which is kind of embarrassing because Ray William Johnson is an artist and he's able to draw, so I don't know what the fuck he was doing. But there was a point where he made a TikTok where he was explaining why him and his wife are child free. And he got bombarded with people who were just insulting him, calling him selfish. That's the main thing, right? That's the main thing you hear when you tell people, oh, I don't really want kids. I don't ever plan on having kids. The main thing you hear from people is, oh, well, you're just selfish. When the most selfish thing you can do in life is have a child, right? Because we've said it before. I was sitting... I would tell you, this reminds me of a story. I was sitting at dinner with my mom. We were at Texas Roadhouse. And my mom was scrolling Facebook. And she goes, oh, this is interesting. She says, Joe, if you could go back in time and talk to 16-year-old me, what would you tell me? And I looked her dead in her eyes and I said, abort me. And she goes, Joseph. And I was like, I'm serious. I said, Mom, you fucked a guy 32 years ago whose last name you don't even remember, and now I have to pay bills. This is bullshit. I didn't ask to be here. Not a single person on this earth, not me, not you watching this video, not my mother, not literally anybody, nobody asked to be here. Nobody put in a request and asked to be alive. We were all forced into this shit by people fucking, right? 2 people fucked, and now you're here. 2 people fucked however many years ago from the age you are, and now you gotta pay rent, you gotta figure out your medical bills, you have to feed yourself, you gotta wake up every goddamn day and be a productive member of society because 2 people decided they wanted to have sex. That is bullshit, okay? So, the most selfish thing you could do, in my opinion, is have a child. Because the only reason to have children willingly is to fulfill your own satisfaction, because you want the satisfaction of raising a human being, because you want to use them as your little tools for what the fuck ever you plan to do, which is another subject. The main thing that bothers me about people who are so anti-child free, like they're like, oh, I can't believe you're never gonna have children. A lot of you shouldn't have children. A lot of you would be and are, as a matter of fact, terrible fucking parents. You're way too controlling in your child's life. You don't treat them like a human being. You treat them like your property. You constantly hit them or berate them or make them feel as if they're not wanted and loved. And it's just, it's no wonder that generations of human beings have been the most unstable, emotionally void adults in the entire fucking world. It is genuinely, in my opinion, genuinely some of the worst examples of parenting. And every single study, we have studies stacked to the ceilings that hitting your child doesn't work. And yet there is still an entire population of people who are prepared to hit their child. I saw a TikTok video the other day of this woman where her 17-year-old son had snuck a grown man into the house to have sex with. And the mother took the bat to the grown man, which is, you know what? I get it, right? There's a grown man in your house. He's trying to sleep with your underage kid. Beat his ass, right? But then she turns the bat on the 17-year-old, starts hurling homophobic slurs at him, and starts beating him with the baseball bat. That woman should have never had a fucking child, because it's obvious that she hates her child, right? It's obvious that she doesn't know how to be a parent. And there are people out there celebrating her beating her underage child. Oh, but he's 17, he should know better. Yeah, 17-year-olds can get groomed too, assholes. 17-year-olds can get groomed too, but it's not just the fact that she's hitting the child, which is bad enough. It's the fact that she's hurling homophobic slurs at him on top of hitting the child. So she's not hitting the child out of a twisted sense of discipline that you all seem to think is appropriate. She's also beating him because he's gay, and y'all are laughing at that. Y'all think that is the funniest fucking thing in the world. That is completely screwed up, and this is the kind of world, these are the kind of people who have children. These are the kind of people who don't do what I did, sit down and examine themselves and think, would I be a good parent? None of these people care if they'd be a good parent. They just want a child to have a child. Having a child is so normalized in our society, and we just don't treat children correctly in this country. Every single man, when they are born, does not have the right to their own body, because circumcision's a thing. You can literally tell the doctor, if you have a boy, you can literally tell the doctor, I would like you to cut the tip of this child's penis off, and the doctor will do it. So this kid for the rest of his life has his fucking genitals mutilated, and he didn't get a fucking say in it. And let's not even begin to like poke and prod into the generational trauma that y'all put on children. The way y'all treat little boys and little girls when they're growing up to try to maintain some fucking social hierarchy is absolutely ridiculous. I chose to be child free because of several things that would not make me a good parent. But I still feel like I would be a better parent than most of you, and it's because I have some form of fucking self-awareness, and I don't see children as little bitty pieces of property that belong to their parents. I see them as human beings that need to grow up with stability and love and kindness and sternness to actually teach them what could be the best. But maybe that's just me. Maybe I'll make a video one day on all the horrible parenting styles, but Yeah, I choose to be child free. It is my choice because I know I wouldn't make a good parent, and the fact that so many of you uh, think you'd make a good parent when in reality you wouldn't is insane to me. So yeah, I love you all so much, and I will see you in the next one.